in. We're just waiting for the next few minutes to let other participants join in as well. Just so that I know that I'm audible and visible, can somebody quickly write in the chat box that you can hear me and see me so we know the chat box is active as well? And just say a quick hi in the chat box. That'll be wonderful. Great, perfect. Thank you so much, Manvi and Sonia. Thank you for confirming. Thank you, Ditya. Great, perfect. Thank you so much for confirming that you can hear me. We're just gonna wait for a couple of minutes and we're gonna start. I'm gonna try and start as soon as possible. Meanwhile, it'd be wonderful if those of you who join can mention, if you're a student, you can mention what grade are you from, and if you are a parent, you can mention what grade is your child in. So I'm aware what kind of audience is joining today. Very happy to accordingly navigate the session. Will give me a better idea. And also, if your parents mention you're a parent, so I know that how many parents are joining. That'll be wonderful. Great, Miss Peter. Thank you so much. Wonderful. I see more people coming in. We can't see the full frame. Ajay, can you confirm that? What do you mean, Miss Neha? We can't see the full frame. Ajay, we can see the full screen, right? Great, great, perfect. Thank you, Prachi. I'm just gonna wait for another 1 or 2 minutes and then gonna quickly begin. Wonderful. So glad that people could join right now. Yeah. Okay, great, perfect. Ajay, I think we're good to go. Do you want to start recording? Oh, it's already recording. Done. Perfect. Very good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. I know you know the topic of the webinar. I'll quickly set some context. I'm Abhishek. I work with Mindler and Edisys, and I hope you get the clarity in terms of the topic that's concerned. No, Neha, you won't be audible to us, and I would request that you pay attention to what I'm saying, and you can feel free to put in your question in the chat box, and the team will keep addressing those. I'll try and take some time at the end of it when I've covered with what I want to discuss and address your questions. Meanwhile, you can feel free to put all your questions in the chat box, and the team will be happy to address them. Um, I lead the international education vertical at Mindler. And when we were discussing at this time of the year that how can we help students and parents, in fact, a lot of parents reached out from all our schools that we work with in India and abroad. They had a sincere request that they're trying to figure out what can be the potential countries to study abroad. Now, I know this is a very subjective question. Um, Prachi, I think you can set your tone and I'll try and go slower so you're able to catch up. Thank you for that feedback. When we are looking at studying abroad, there are a number of factors that we need to keep in mind. So, considering the scenario we have in, I have tried to shortlist a few countries that are becoming all the more relevant from number of contexts. But before I get to that, I want to quickly understand what countries are you thinking of going and studying abroad in? So, if you are a student in grade 12 today and you were planning to study abroad, or whatever grade you are in today, and as a parent, what countries are you considering for higher education abroad? Australia, done. Thank you. What about others? What other countries are you thinking about? Germany, European Union, US, sure. Wonderful. So we are looking at around the world, right? Now, I'll give you a quick lesson in history. 10 to 15 years ago, the most popular countries were always US and UK, and majority students from India were always looking at them. And US and UK continue to be the strong countries that students still apply to. For very obvious reasons, they have some of the most reputed schools. They had great opportunities, but today's scenario has changed. For example, Canada used to be a popular country, but now people are shifting away because of what all has been happening in the last few years. So based on my understanding from 2 points of view, one, from how well are students performing in these countries, academically, holistically. Second, which countries are also giving you an opportunity to stay back, work, and the right kind of network to grow and build a career in. I've chosen 5 countries. Now, in no way I'm saying other countries are not good enough, but these are the countries that you can consider. Now, this will be an opening chapter for you. Some of you I saw are in 9th, 10th, and as parents, just to educate and build awareness that there are more countries beyond the obvious ones. So I've tried to keep a couple of countries that you already know and exist, but I've taken some countries that have grown in importance and are becoming very popular. In case you have questions about other countries, we will have multiple webinars and you can put in requests, reach out to the team, and very happy to discuss more about those countries as well. So very quickly jumping into the topic and going ahead, of course, US is one of the most popular countries still. There is no doubt about it. US has been one of the strong pillars of international education for very simple reasons. Uh, it has some of the leading universities in the world. When we look at higher education, we cannot discount the Ivies, as we like to call them. And the Ivies are a group of 8 institutions. Very fondly, some of us remember the names like Harvard, Yale, Columbia, Cornell, and these are some fabulous schools, Brown, Dartmouth. But the idea is it's not just that. We also have some of the leading tech schools like MIT, Georgia Tech, Stanford, the new IBs for that matter. But US has more to offer. It's not just the university rankings and reputation, which are excellent and literally second to none. It's also the fact that students from around the globe come every year in bulk numbers just to come together, study, compete, and build a career. And that makes US the American dream possible because the diversity of it all that gives us these students a chance coming from whatever background, whichever part of the world, whichever culture, ethnicity, to come together, work with people, learn from one another, and build a life together. That's the best part about it. Considering the amount of funding, the amount of innovation that happens in the US, the research opportunities are also something that we can't discount. So you need to also remember that there are multiple factors to consider. Now, if I'm a student in class 12, US admissions are not as easy as other countries. I know you know that these are competitive schools, but they're also very difficult to crack. What I mean by that is your academic standards need to be very high. US universities in particular, look at your academic standards from ninth onwards. That is, anything and everything you've done from 9th to 12th will matter. Your academic scores, your participation in co-curriculars, extracurriculars, what have you done towards the subject? Now, what I mean by that, I want to study economics. I want to study biology. Have I interacted with these domains in some capacity? Have I done research on these domains? Have I worked with these domains? Have I built projects, done internships? If I'm not able to prove that, universities feel I'm not ready to pursue a career. Also, a couple of things to keep in mind. Unlike India, where we can go and study medicine and law after 12th, US and Canada, I can't go and study medicine law right away. What they feel is we are not ready at the age of 17 or 18 to get into a medical or law school. So, how does it work? If you are a medicine or law aspirant, you first go to college, do your undergrad degree in pre medicine, pre law, any undergrad program that's relevant, and then you apply to medical law schools. That's a particular phenomena that US universities follow. Now, there are certain advantages, but I also want to be very transparent in highlighting what are the major challenges or cons, however you want to term that. Tuition fees in the US is extremely high. This is something that you know. This year, the average tuition and living expenses combined for the major US schools coming out to be 75 lakhs per annum. That turns out to be anywhere close to 3 CR for a duration of 4-year undergrad program. Now, that's extremely expensive. Unless you really get strong scholarships, it becomes extremely difficult to afford. Also, the kind of expenditure, recession, and the career progression, it's all the more difficult for you to recover that money, and your ROI goes for a toss. The return on investment is very, very important. Competitive admissions, it's very obvious that these schools are competitive because they are the best in the world. So the demand for students is really high. And all the good students from around the world. Remember, we are not competing with students from India itself. We are competing with students from 140 nations globally applying to the best schools. So our competition is not just with our friends. It's actually with people around the world, the students coming across the globe. In India, with current class 12, there'll be 2.8 CR kids giving the class 12 board exams in the coming cycle. Globally, just think about it. How many students are preparing for it? Cultural adjustment. I know I said the biggest advantage is diversity, but that's also a very big challenge for US universities to find students who will be culturally adaptable. If you have never traveled abroad, never lived and worked with people from different backgrounds, it might take you a while to adjust and settle in. So many students from the US universities actually find that the most challenging factor. In the last 5 years, we worked with over 250 students who are going to the top school in the US and they're studying there. I took a survey amongst all our students and I realized they have tried to adjust and some of them tried to change schools and were not able to settle in because it was too difficult for them to find their place. Possibly because they never thought about these factors earlier. That's also some food for thought that when you are looking at the top schools, you can't ignore them. Um, Career impact. Now, one thing that I'm very particular about, if you're going to study at a global school, you have to remember one. I can't think that I'll go and study and figure out. That figuring out is becoming a big problem. Today, I have to walk in with the mindset I'm going to build a life and a career for myself. Right. So, what are the biggest career advantages in the US? You get a strong global recognition. If I go to a reputed school which has a great reputation around the globe amongst employers, amongst founders, amongst venture capital and angel investors, I am bound to get better opportunities. That's how it works. That's how the world works. That branding does help. Access to leading universities. If you have access to the right network, the right universities, your education gets filtered. You are learning from the best people possible. You are talking to the best people possible. You are sharing classrooms with the smartest people in the world that basically increase your odds of doing very well. Also, you get to discuss ideas, find your co-founders if you want to build a business. That's how things start, right? Absolutely. That is exactly the point. You have to remember this. Now, few tips that I always share with students who are planning to go to the US. One is start networking now. Doesn't matter you are in grade 8, 9, 10th, 11, 12, even if you are a parent. What do I mean by networking? I'm in grade 9th. I have seniors who are applying for colleges abroad. Can I have a chat with them and understand what are the factors they're considering? Sometimes I don't know what are the factors that are relevant for me, but when I hear somebody else align them, I'm like, oh, this is also relevant for me. Maybe I also need to consider these factors. If you are in 10th and 11th, you need to start building your LinkedIn profile. It's a humble request. Today, if I know I have been able to conduct this webinar and I really know you benefited, the only way will be if I get to hear back from you that, okay, Abhishek, these are the questions we have. This is what we were able to take away. Make sure you connect on LinkedIn and discuss and share your pointers. Because the idea is today, if I'm learning something, how can you connect? Ms. Prachi, I'll address that for class 7, what you can be doing. I also mentioned that a class 7 student the parents can network for them. For example, I'm a parent and I have a student in class 6 to 7. I can connect with other students who are studying at university and be like, is it possible to have a chat with you virtually? And, why don't you walk my child through the kind of experiences you are having? Because that gives them an idea. And you'll be pleasantly surprised how open students are to sharing, how open parents are to sharing. Community is always important. But I was talking about 10s and 11s. I want to learn about a particular course. I want to talk to a particular professor. I can genuinely reach out. DMs don't work. I'm sorry. So LinkedIn becomes very, very important. Kar Karthi, I'm saying it out loud on the webinar. We live in India. Students literally have accounts on pages across social media. Already they're using Instagram and everything as well. Yesterday, Instagram announced they're literally putting kids under 16 in Insta teen bracket and making a different channel for them. I still have kids on 16 who are doing that. And LinkedIn does allow you to create an account. That's okay. Right. So the idea is we can connect with people, and it's okay if you're not 16. 16 is a good age to start. I'm not going to force you to make a LinkedIn account. But the idea is your networking is not limited to just LinkedIn as well. You can reach out to people. If you go to university websites, you have email IDs of current students, professors that you can reach out to. You just need to find a way, right? Beyond that, it's also important to start researching early. You can't assume to wake up in 12th and expect to get a scholarship. That's never going to happen. Last year, we had a couple of kids who went to the US at the best schools literally with full scholarships, and that makes us so proud because these students have put in the work all these years, right? So it's very, very crucial for you to try and understand the number of factors available. I quickly want to address a couple of questions, even though the team has been answering them very kindly. Okay, so Vibha, in particular, when we are looking at, I'm sorry, I'm addressing the first name. I don't know if their parents or not, so please don't mind that. So when we are looking at building a resume, it also depends on who is my audience. I'll give you a simple example. If I meet a lawyer today, I'm going to see the same, but my way of talking to a lawyer will be very different to the way I talk to a doctor. What I tell about myself, if I do three things, which I do, I can't share everything. Similarly, if I'm sending my resume, my question will be, who are you making a resume for? So, but this is a very broad question. I have to dedicate and narrow down my resume so it can work for the right kind of audience. So I critically tell students to make sure you're talking and understanding before you send something to the university. You need to do very thorough research. And if you need help with resume, if you're a student, you can reach out, team can work with you, block a session and guide you with it. That's what we're here for, right? And yes, my colleague Sophie has mentioned already. Thank you so much. Uh, Mega SAT scores are only required by certain countries. US absolutely needs SAT scores, but I'll quickly address this. All the colleges in the US don't require SATs. There are a lot of colleges in the US that are SAT optional. A lot of them are mandatory. Some of them don't even care. So you have to understand that, is there a requirement in the first place? And if there is, you please submit it. If you can appear for the SAT, even if it's an optional, please submit it, because that will put you in a place and advantage. Make sure you leverage that for yourself. Zahir, you can feel free to reach out to the team, block a session. We can very quickly discuss with you and help you with the plan, right? Because if you're in class 12, you don't have too much time because you're sitting on the application deadlines, right? Moving on from the US, I'm very happy to take more questions at the end. Okay, now UK is another popular destination. I've studied throughout in the UK and I can vouch for it. Now, a few things to remember. UK is a home to some of the leading schools. Now, despite the pandemic, whatever was going on, the top school in the UK was still getting applications in the best possible way. So make sure you are considering and researching well. The challenge in UK is we only have an option to apply to 5 schools at most. The application portal in UK is called UCAS. It's a fabulous website. You can literally log into it and read. There's so much content. I refer to it for almost everything. It's very efficient. There's so many tools, bars that you can look at. If you can't find things, you can go to the Mindler portal. There are articles written about it, and you can, of course, reach out to the team. Now, what I want you to understand, you already know UK is home to some of the best schools, the likes of Oxford, Cambridge, UCL, LSE, KCL, Imperial, and so many others. Global research, UK, and this comes from personal experience, UK has some of the most prolific researchers available, and they have done exceptional work over the years, and that gives them that stature that people recognize them globally. And that gives you solid advantage. Any university with a solid research lab will always have innovation, will always create opportunities for students, and will always be a breeding ground for more innovation and more patents. That's how we measure progress, right? Strong alumni network. I cannot tell you how brilliant alumni network at the top schools is, and I still vouch for it. And this is not in the UK alone. This is anywhere a global university. The biggest advantage of going to a good school is you build network for life. And that gives you so many possibilities. Even if I'm not the best possible professional in the world, my network is my true net worth. I can't literally, uh, I will make sure. Okay, done. Great. Now, when we are looking at students applying to the UK, you have to also realize that you need to keep in mind what are the challenges as well. Now, UK has been a great country. Considering the last couple of years, living costs have been really high, especially if you're living in a city like London. You have to make sure that you are able to leverage the advantages, but also don't get burdened by the costs. Also, UK is not very big on scholarship. There are certain scholarships available every year. I have students get some amount, but it's not as generous as US. But it's also not as expensive comparatively, but it's still a very difficult thing with the rising inflation and prices in the UK. Comparative job market, I think everyone is already cribbing and learning about the fact that UK has a difficult market, which is true. But you can write this thing down. Right country, if you go to the right country for the right job in the right industry, you'll always have jobs. Every single morning, I wake up and see 10 people saying that I don't have a job in the UK and 20 people saying that I've got a new job in the UK. This is clearly a mismatch between awareness. If I am going to the UK for the right sectors which are thriving in the economy, which is government's mandate to grow, I will, of course, do well. But it comes down to your research, right? Cultural differences, I feel UK is still more culturally efficient because we hear so many languages, but in the last couple of years, it's become a little difficult with the kind of shuffle in the kind of students coming in for different reasons. But UK is still more comfortable in the US from personal experience as well, right? Career impact. International recognition is a pretty obvious one. Some of the schools have a stamp of authority, helps you a lot. Access to global organizations. Most of the offices of major companies find their heart in London, right? And London has always been one of the best student cities to live in. And this has been year after year. You can look at any data, you'll find the same thing. But global organizations have always found a home for one of their headquarters in London because it's center of the world in some way, because you get to easily travel from the US and Asia. It's possible for companies to travel and relocate employees. Some of the Indian companies have their biggest offices in the UK, right? That tells you a lot about the kind of legacy they have built, right? No, Megha, you don't need a migration certificate. Okay, great. Uh, Another popular destination I want to talk about is Singapore, very close to home. It's been a popular destination. The only challenge was Singapore doesn't have too many schools, but Singapore will always continue to be one of the most popular destinations for Indian students. Now, the biggest advantage is it's multicultural society. Singapore, more than education, the employees and professionals working there are from all around the world. For obvious reasons, Singapore has been a stable economy all these years. It's a fast growing economy. So many Indians have their family offices there, right? That means a lot of money they are flushing out into the countries is being sent from Singapore. It became one of the major sources in the blockchain market, the crypto market. And today, also, when we look at venture capital and funding, Singapore is literally at the forefront of it. Real estate development, construction, infra as a whole. Singapore has been one of the most formidable countries to build that. With Asians leading charge, it's become a central hub and we have great opportunities. Strong economy, I've mentioned that. Excellent infrastructure, I think everybody benefits from it. It's a beautiful country to live in, work in, travel, study. It's just a great experience altogether. Uh, Tuition fees comparison to the UK is lower, but the living cost of living in Singapore is really high. So you have to be mindful of that. Competitive job market again, it even though the job market is stable, but it's highly competitive because they're Asians. We expect a lot from people around us. Absolutely. Sonia, if you're able to make it to a school like NUS, which is National University of Singapore, it's a brilliant option. Cultural differences. In the last couple of years, the feedback I've gotten from my students studying in Singapore has been it's taken them a while to adjust in the classroom because it's very highly China driven. So after COVID happened, a lot of US and UK schools, US and Canada schools became very skeptical of letting any and everyone from China in. So the best option from them became they go to Singapore. Yashvi, all the countries I've just mentioned are brilliant for computer engineering, all three of them, to be honest. And I'm going to cover a couple of them as well. So those are a couple of challenges that Singapore faces. Now, with career impact, because I have a fast growing economy which has rapid growing industries, Singapore has that leverage and enjoys that reputation. That becomes all the more very interesting for people to consider this as an option, especially with a booming fintech sector. Singapore also has incubators which allow students to come in and work, which allows people to get startups, fund startups, build startups, just like Dubai. And Singapore has always been encouraging of young talent, which is very helpful, right? I'm going to address all these questions, guys, before I move ahead. So I'll come to that. Some of the most popular schools I'm going to type down in the chat box. You can have a look at this. There you go. Now, NUS and NTU primarily are good for everything they teach: technology, business, economics, law, medicine. SMU in particular is a phenomenal business school, right? And that's definitely growing as a great option in particular. So Singapore is worth considering. One thing you need to remember, Singapore as a country offers government bonds, which means if you are able to qualify and get in, lot of times students get government funding. That means you pay nothing. Government pays for you, sign a legal contract, but the bond comes with particular clauses. You have to stay back in the country for a while and work for a while. Always consider talking to a consultant or a lawyer to give you that guidance, or career coaches like us. I'm going to take a few minutes and address these questions before they keep piling on. Uh, uh, I don't know who this baby T is, but for pilot training in particular, you can definitely look at countries like New Zealand. It's a very popular destination for you to consider, if not India. Uh, Yashvi, I would say today, considering how the countries are growing, US, UK, Singapore, Netherlands, Ireland, I'm going to talk about them. Switzerland, if you speak French or German, can be a great country for computer engineering. Prachi, any course in hospitality can do that. It's how you make the career. How do you network? That's going to help you get to the right places. Megha, it's not the countries, the universities. I would say US. You have a couple of really good schools. UK has University of Arts London. Italy is one of the best places to study interior design, right? Germany is an affordable country. Aryan, I would highly recommend you start learning German as a language and get certified up to a B2 level. Megha, Italy would be a great country to consider if you want to look at interior design. Uh, Janani, the first school in the world for the best school in the world for architecture is UCL Bartlett. Second will be TU Delft in Netherlands. Third, you can look at any school in US. Cambridge in UK, Notre Dame, Stanford are all good schools. Zainab, this is a very subjective question depending on what you're looking at, how soon you want to finish your MBBS. Okay, done. Team is answering most of the questions, so I'm like okay with it, right? Wonderful. Guys, one of the countries that's gaining, I'm going to come back and answer all the questions, students. When we are looking at studying, particularly in Europe, Netherlands has turned out to be one of the most popular destinations. I'll give you some really interesting insights. Europe as a whole has great living standards, and Netherlands is one of the most beautiful places personally I've seen, and it has a great quality of life. Government is very supportive, the medical system, the healthcare system as a whole, and safety-wise is brilliant. It has a global environment. I don't know, a lot of people don't realize that Netherlands is one of the most popular countries in Europe in the sense it's very friendly, very open to Indians, and people from different cultural backgrounds reside, work together. They have some of really cool companies with the headquarters like Philips, which is a Dutch company. Netflix has an office in Netherlands as well. Affordable tuition. So on average, tuition cost in Netherlands is around 20 lakhs a year. So for a 3-year course, you're paying 60 lakhs, which is not that bad because in US, you're paying almost 75 lakhs for 1 year, right? The disadvantages in Netherlands, even though half the population speaks English, studying Dutch would be helpful. So you can consider that. Cultural differences are not as many. If you are able to adjust, you can try and do that. Job opportunities are possibly limited comparison to US and UK, but if you're studying in Netherlands, you can always navigate to other European countries. So I don't consider this as a limitation. I work with so many kids who are all studying in Netherlands and doing very well and turning at the best companies, have gotten full-time offers. So I personally am biased toward Netherlands as a country. Career impact, they are one of the best countries for research, one of the best countries for communication, media. I'll name a few schools you can consider. Very specialized industries, right? If you want to get into art, culture, design, technology, aerospace, Netherlands is a wonderful country to consider. Now, I'm going to type out a few names of universities you should look at in Netherlands. University of Amsterdam, DISTU Delft, there is Groningen, there is the Hague School, there is Erasmus, there is, what else am I forgetting? There is Utrecht, So some of the really popular schools in Netherlands you can consider, and all of them are globally ranked top 100, which is great. For a small country like Netherlands to have 5 or 6 schools in top 100 says a lot about the academic caliber, right? Some tips: try and learn Dutch early. That's going to be very beneficial for you. Try and explore multiple internships, network with alumni to get source of, okay, what can you possibly do? What are the possibilities? How do you settle in the country? Anything you should do beforehand, which of course is talking to students, professors, people who are living there, working there, understanding the immigration route. How long can you stay, which is 24 months after you graduate, and naturalizing and getting a EU passport is much easier in comparison to other European countries in Netherlands. So again, a very popular destination. Uh, I think this country is not rare anymore. A lot of Indian kids go there. Last year, around 3750 Indian students got their work visa, which is a great number. Around 50% of the work population that got visas was Indians. Biggest advantage, very friendly. People in Ireland are really friendly and genuinely nice. They are politer than the British people. Affordable living, cost of living in Ireland is almost half of what is it in London. So you can draw a comparison that way, more affordable. English speaking country, even though the accent is different, but it's still an English speaking country. So easy for Indians. Good courses, beautiful programs, great landscape for you to live in. Limited job opportunities. I feel that certain industries are doing very well. For example, computer science, tech, those industries are more thriving, or energy. So you have to remember, if you're going to Ireland, you know the sectors you want to get into. Smaller economy. So any major event can actually bother them. So you have to be mindful that how do you plan your career. Cultural differences, I think they are a little more stuck up when it comes to adjusting, but because the Asian population is very high, particularly Indians, so Indians don't face that big a problem. Career impact, growing tech industry rapidly. Accenture Strategy has a headquarters there. LinkedIn has a headquarters there. So all the major companies are coming in. International companies exist as well. So many companies have their offices based. So Ireland is a popular destination. I'll name a few schools that you can consider. Trinity College Dublin, University College Dublin. There you go. Some really cool schools that you can keep in mind here. Now, I want to go back quickly and answer questions. I have so many. Pardon me for making you wait. Okay. I'll just quickly scroll back. In Japan, one of the best places is like looking at automobile engineering, working in animation, graphics. Education in Canada, Nazia, I think it's become very tricky. So my only advice is, if you want to go to Canada still, you can look at universities like University of Toronto, British Columbia, Waterloo, McGill, York, just the top 4 or 5, not beyond. It's very tricky and struggling. Uh, Prime Minister Trudeau just announced today that he's going to cut down on student population and immigration from across the globe. Ayan, IELTS is the only exam you need. There's no other exam as such. Itachi, can you mention the countries you're looking at? So once Priya, if you're looking at studying the UK, the first thing is you need to, depending on the domain, start doing activities in that subject. If you want to study economics, project in economics, online courses, certifications, because UK cares a lot about your academic activities. That's very helpful, right? Uh, Zainab, you have to tell me what is the duration, because if you want to start right away after 12th, you want to wait for a while because every country doesn't allow MBBS directly. Kanishka, it's a very broad question, but you have to have a very holistic profile. 9 to 12, any and everything matters, right? So if you need to discuss further at length, I'm very happy to do a call. Absolutely, Zahir. If you are able to crack the best school, Germany is a great country, right? US is a good country to get in. Is that a statement, Kanishka? BBT, is there a particular question? And can you please tell me what your name is so it's easy for me to address? Zainab, it depends on your possibility, the amount of money you want to spend, the career prospects. If you want to stay in the country, work in the country, what is the plan of action, right? Vibha, the best colleges for architecture globally will be UCL, Bartlett, TU, Delft, Cambridge, the top 3. No, Zahir, it doesn't. That's the misconception. Public universities are not free for everybody. You need to be proficient in the language. Japan is great, Rehan, depending on the course. I've answered that already. Megha, you need official transcript for studying any degree. Sonia, I'll recommend Ireland. I'll recommend University of Amsterdam for law. It's one of the good schools. They have a program called PPLE. So yes, I would not discount either Ireland also. Trinity College Dublin is a great law school as well. Prachi, I've named those countries: US, UK, Singapore, Netherlands, is Switzerland if you are able to make it to IIT at Zurich. Germany, the best school for finance would be at the undergrad level, WHU. It can be EHL. It can also be EBS. It can be Frankfurt School of Finance and Management. BTech would be Melbourne, Sydney, RMIT, Adelaide, UNSW. Athar, very broad question. Yeah. This can be anything depending on the country. But US and UK and France have the best schools right now. Ayan, I would say US has some of the best schools. UK has Imperial College London. These are the best ones. Okay, great. Ireland is a great working place. Guys, your questions have to be complete. I'm seeing very open-ended questions. So if you can just complete the question, it's very easy for me. Now, before I get to answering more questions, I want to talk about something in particular. When you're looking at applying abroad, there are a number of factors to keep in mind. How do you decide the right country? Please pay attention to this. I'll come to your questions in a second because these questions will help you actually align what you want to do. Make sure your goals and interests are in order. What I mean by that is if you don't know what you want to do after the degree, going to the country can be a big mistake because you're not sure about the possibilities. I need to spend some time in realizing what my end goal is. For instance, if today I want to work in finance, I want to understand which country will give me the right kind of exposure, network, and I'm able to align my goals to that country. So very important. Budget and finances, I always say this, make sure you're not going further deep in your pockets, making yourself taking loans, making your parents uncomfortable. If you won't be able to recover, what is the point of that? You don't want that stress, right? If you want to go to, let's say, the US and you don't get a scholarship, 3.5 CR is very difficult. Then I look at alternatives, right? This year, I had a kid who got into one of the best schools in the US, got 20% scholarship. So her total fees was 2.6 CR. Her dad called me saying that, Abhishek, what do I do? And she also had offers from top schools in Netherlands and France, where the total fees was 70 lakhs. Why would I let them pay 2.6 CR, which makes no sense? As long as you're getting a good school, you have to be smart about things, right? Cultural adaptation, this can be a very critical factor. Schools in France have a term called cultural shock. You have to adjust and understand and adapt that what are the possible factors that might bother you. So you can't randomly look at going to countries without paying attention to so many factors. Career prospects, does that country have the job market that you're looking at? Do you have opportunities? Are there options to make industry connects? Do you have the right career pathway? Somebody told me once when I was looking at studying to universities, please go to a country where your chances of running into a future employer is much higher. The reason I chose to study in London was I would be able to meet so many people I can work with, and that actually happened. That was the only reason I picked up a city which had so much potential. So when you're taking or making that decision, try and take a step back, take a 360 view and understand, are we thinking straight? Are we thinking of every single factor? Random decisions can never help. I don't want any of the students here or parents being in debt and trying to recover. People tell you multiple things. I'm going to be very straightforward. It's career first. So today you're looking at a university, you have to be mindful of this, correct? Great. You can go ahead. I'm here to answer your questions. Very happy to address. I'm going to keep to the screen so you can at least look at it. And done. Ayan, I think a team can share the email ID. I think Ajay, can you put down the email IDs where they can reach out and fill the forms? There you go. Oh, I think you put it already. So Shivanshi, depending on what you want to do with psychology, it will change. But globally, US, UK has some of the best psychology schools. Singapore has NUS. Netherlands has University of Amsterdam. Trinity College Dublin in Ireland. So every country has great schools. It matters. Aerospace today, one of the best schools in the world for aerospace will be TU Delft, MIT, Georgia Tech, Stanford. Yeah, these are some of the best schools. Imperial College London. Great. Please feel free to ask your question. I'm very happy to address those now. Prachi, you can get full scholarships in the US. You can get full scholarships in Singapore. You can get full scholarships in actually all the countries, but some are limited. Canada also provides full scholarships. That's where my students have gotten full scholarships in the past. Uh, Parisa, the best schools for fashion in Europe will be University of Arts London. That's UK, not Europe exactly. This Parsons School in Paris. These are the two best ones. And there's Bocconi, there is Polimoda, all Italy. It is mega, it is, but you don't have too many good schools. Manvi, Duke is one of the best schools in the world for neuroscience. So yes. Zahir, I've answered this question 3 times now. You can reach out to the team. I'm very happy to address this. Sonia, my sister goes to University of Auckland, so anyways, I would say good things about it. She's studying management there, so University of Auckland is a great school. Jacob, depending on what do you want to do after, can you tell me what is the plan? What do you want to study? Accordingly, I can give you a more direct answer. If you're looking at studying computer science, you have to remember, does that country have the right kind of opportunities? Do you have the right industry connect? That should be the first factor. Do the companies pay the right kind of salaries? Because you are at a juncture where career is important for you. So that's Rajesh, the best country for pilot training for Indian students. If it's not India, it's New Zealand. And the second one would be if you're able to crack any of the Middle East, which is tricky, but if you can, nothing like it. Mega, I've answered this question. You can go look up. And you have to tell me where do you want to study? But it's a fabulous career option. I train talent for this industry, so I vouch for it. Software engineering is great, Rehan. If you're able to make it to University of Tokyo, Kyoto, these are good schools. Mega, I've answered this question multiple times. You can go refer to the Mindler blogs, his entire blog on this. Uh, Shri Jayanti, for medical engineering, I'm assuming you mean biomed. US has the best options. UK has Imperial College London that you can consider. Zainab, you can still go to anywhere. So one second, MBBS, you can go to Singapore. You can look at Australia. You'll have to give either ISAT or UCAT ANZ. So Australia, Singapore, UK can be great options. It is. If you're able to crack Melbourne, Sydney, BTech in Australia is worth it. For what, Nazia? Scope in Australia for what? A third, you can IP mat, you have to practice. You need training for that. So we can guide you on this, what kind of resources. It is, Sonia, it's a good destination. Auckland is a beautiful city, good university, absolutely. The only thing you need is your academics, right? Nothing else. Jacob, can feel free to block a session with the team. They'll be very happy to schedule one for you because that's a longer conversation. Zainab, I don't know your further plans. I have no idea. UK is great, Ayan. If you can look at getting into schools like Imperial, UCL, Warwick, Manchester, good schools. For interior design, I can look at UK. I can look at Italy. These are some good destinations. US has some good schools as well. Megas, no, not for all the schools. No. And be very directed to the industry you want to get into. So that is very specific. There's no template, but it's very personalized. So very happy to give you advice if you reach out. Miss Pooja, my son is probably oh, so ma'am, chemistry is also a very broad field. From A to Z, I can name literally 150 careers. And what countries? I would say today, depending on the field, Germany, UK, US, Singapore. See, ma'am, understand every country has a scope with particular areas. You tell me I want to biochemistry, I'll be like, pick up schools in the US. You want to work in petroleum energy, I'll say, go study in India. So it depends on what you want to do with the domain. It will become more centric and qualified for me to give you particular directed advice. Ma'am, the best school in the US, in the UK for computer science would be Imperial, will be top. In Edinburgh, UCL, King's College London, Manchester, Warwick will be the top schools. And if you can aim at Oxbridge, why not? Either Oxford or Cambridge. So you can do that. Okay, Afreen, what's your full question? No. Anmol, see, the idea is Germany is not my preferred destination for English top program. Never is. Not for undergrad. No, Zahir, it depends on what you want to do. You don't have to give SAT for everything. Finance today, Chintan, think of the markets, no? I just mentioned Singapore is a great market. UK has London School of Economics, if you can go there. In US, if you're able to crack some of the big business schools. The question should be which career and where. Then you choose universities. But Parisa, I would say, tell me what you want to do with it. This is one domain I come from and I train and hire for this. So very happy to discuss at length. I want to understand your career goals before recommending. It's a fabulous industry if you're able to crack the right chords. That's very important. Mane, if you want to stay in a particular country, let's say US, studying medicine there makes sense, no? So I would say any licensed profession, medicine, law, you should always study in the country you want to work in. That's the only advantage. Great, Ayan. That's very kind of you. Thank you so much. You can do that, Megha. That's possible. Best school for data science in UK will be Imperial Manchester Warwick. In US, it will be NYU Stern, UIUC, University of Chicago, Stanford, Caltech, Carnegie Mellon, Purdue. Yeah, these are all fabulous schools. Any university that has good comparisons and math faculty, UC Berkeley for that matter, how can I forget? Best country for BDES, US has Parsons, Pratt, Rhode Island, LaSalle in Singapore, UL in UK. So some of the best schools. Yeah. Janani, where do you want to go? Doesn't matter. Wherever you want to go. Literally, that's an open-ended question. Nothing, Prachi. The team will reach out to you. And you can connect with me on LinkedIn, guys. So in case the team misses out on reaching out, we can block a call because I can't address all the questions for sure. I'm going to try my best to answer as many as I can. Any particular questions about Australia, I can answer. Australia needs nothing. If you're looking at a general course, you need your 10th marks, your 12th marks, and IELTS score. That's it. There's no other requirement in particular. And today's session was about the popular countries, right? Australia, unfortunately, because of the immigration challenges becoming very tricky, it's also very important, students and parents, we start reading news, understanding how countries are backlashing and changing policies, right? Vibha, MIT is brilliant for anything it teaches. Like, that's what my answer is going to be, right? No, you can't get the PDF of the slides. I'm so sorry, BBT. Miss Pooja, scope-wise, they're brilliant. Anything with chemistry can't go wrong. But the courses you mentioned, I would say I would still look at UK, Netherlands, US as the top three countries primarily. Yes, and India for that matter. They have great options. If you're able to crack, Janani, if you're able to crack an Erasmus Rotterdam, one of the best schools in Europe, that should be a great option. It certainly will. And more, I think when you're going to universities and you're learning about the domain, it anyways gives you exposure, right? That does help. Wonderful. Great. Tech, you can just Google tech companies. Every tech company has an office in Australia. I think what kind of a question is this? No, we can't email the recording session, Chintan. I'm so sorry. Priyanka, you have to tell me the careers you're looking at accordingly. I can answer that question. Prachi, I'm so sorry. I lost your question. Please understand I have multiple questions, so I don't know what you're talking about. You have to be very clear. I'm so sorry. Okay, I would request everyone to make sure you put down your queries, reach out to the team. We are very happy to block sessions for you. And I'm so glad you could join the session. We do. We do absolutely, Mira, help with admissions to Indian schools as well. So anyone, I'll just quickly take a second and help you understand how can we help. If you're looking at studying at the leading schools globally, and globally, I say globally because India is part of it, undergrad, postgrad, summer schools, your PhDs, do feel free to reach out. And Mindler and Edusys, we try and make sure we literally work with you end to end and help you in the best possible way, right? So please make sure we do that. Great. Kriya is Sonia. Kriya is good for psychology. Very good, very good school for psychology. Wonderful. I think Ajay, we are good. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. I would expect all of you to reach out and connect with the team. You can drop me a message on LinkedIn in particular. Very happy to discuss things with you. Right? Parisa, you can reach out. Ajay, have you put the email ID or have you put across the link? Can you please do that? But I'm going to put my LinkedIn account. That'll be easier for anybody to connect. I'll just do that. I'll just add that to the chat box in a second. Here you go. I'm putting the LinkedIn account chat box. You can feel free to connect, drop an email to the team and connect with us. Here you go. Mega, I think there's no cons in particular. Thanks to Emily in Paris, people are actually looking at reaching out to. I actually met a student this morning who said, I want to go to Paris for that reason. But jokes apart, no, there are no cons. I've lived in Paris myself for a while and worked there, so I did not find a disadvantage. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ajay. That's very helpful. Done. Mega, I've answered that question. Wonderful. Great, Ajay. I think you're good. Anmol, a lot of scholarships are available. So that's the idea. Prachi, if you just scroll up, there's literally a sheet. Ajay, can you repost the message, please? And Ajay, do you have, I can't hear you. Best country performing arts, Neha, the best schools in the world performing arts are actually in the US, most of them. Great. Thank you so much, everyone. You have a great evening. We'll expect to hear back from you. Thank you so much and good luck. Thank you so much, parents. It was really great to have you here. Thank you so much.